linje überquert.
On today's show, we take a trip to the Isle of Man for the second round of the BTRDA Mixed Surface Challenge, and our first visit to the asphalt to the cruise. As well as a few names from round one, there will be a few new faces joining us here on the Manx. But the absence of round one winner Stephen Petch means the leaderboard will certainly look a lot different by the end of Saturday afternoon. On to the stages then, and 6 stages lie in wait for the crews on this first day of action. The disappointing non-finish at round 1 was being put behind Paul Bird and Alid Davies now, as they open up a good lead at the start of the event, reaching the end of day 1 with almost 2 minutes of a lead.
You've had a fairly good start to the event. You've been having some good battles out there.
Yeah, it's not been too bad. We've had a bit of missing up problems, so it's been going pretty good so far. So.
Anything to do tonight?
I don't know, I just need a good sleep.
For Damien Cole and Jack Morton, it was a good result last time out, with a second place, and that's exactly where they would be lying now. But they were having problems out on the stages, being held up by a fellow competitor and losing some time.
Into, long flat right, and flat left to the press, keep listening, 200 down.
I heard you had a bit of a problem out there with some traffic earlier on, stage 5 was it?
Yeah, caught Steve Simpson, took a minute out of him, and then he didn't move over. He knew we were behind him. We had the flashing the lights, balked us for a whole lap, probably cost us a good half a minute, I would have thought. We caught Graham Coffey just before, because we were on the second lap. Graham was on the first one, and in fairness to Graham, he pulled over straight away. He braked and pulled over, and we went straight past him, right behind Steve Simpson, and then Steve wouldn't let us past. Very disappointed.
Simon Major and Jonathan Hawkins would be another pair needing some points after a non-finish last time out. This time out in the more powerful Metro and ready to take on overall and not just class results.
We struggled quite a lot them last couple of stages there. The starter motor packed up 2 stages ago, so we're very, very conscious not to arrive at a corner too late and stall the car. And there's a really nasty hairpin there which we just cannot, this car hasn't got a handbrake release, so it's like a 3-point turn in there. So it's a case of getting through the stage, and then to top things off, our map light packed up right from the start. So John was pretty quick, he resorted into like a pen light, but it weren't the same. We just totally lost rhythm, so it was sort of driving on sight most of the time on that stage. So pretty glad to get through it, to be honest.
Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh end day 1 in 4th place, but it wasn't the pace they would have wanted. They were up the results, but over 5 minutes of the lead by the end of the day, so the damage had been done for day 2 and the wind was looking very weak.
Treacherous, absolutely treacherous, but we've got round. We'll see what tomorrow brings now, and that's it, you know.
Have you got any work to do on the car tonight?
No, everything seems okay, you know, so steady run, and we'll see how we go tomorrow.
Callum Black and Paul Wakely had a good result on round 1, and having competed on the British Championship previously, the Manx wouldn't be completely unknown for them. They lie in 5th place now and lead in the class.
I think everyone's found this evening fairly tricky.
Probably the hardest stage I've ever done. It's just like sheet ice. Yeah, probably a good third of the stage. We came up to an accident going into chicane, and then when I stopped for him I had no throttle, so I had to stop for 4 minutes to reset it all, and then got going again, so not great.
Gravel regulars Ash Slice and Alex Lee braved the journey over to the Isle of Man to try out some of the classic stages and were not disappointed. A great start to the event for the pair as they end day 1 in 6th place. Richard Sykes and Simon Taylor will be no strangers to the Isle of Man, but this was the first time here in the new car. They end the event in 7th overall at the end of day 1.
Probably not the best way to be eased into the Isle of Man this weekend out there.
Absolutely not, no, very difficult, very tricky. We had a bit of exciting, not that stage, the previous one, where we had a puncture on Port Erin on our wets, and we'd only got slicks in the boot, so we had to put a pair of slicks on the front, and the long 6 minder, what's it called, some marks. Horrible, absolutely horrible on slicks, very tiptoey, but that was a lot better. We're back on the wet, so enjoyed it.
Nick Carr and Joe Sturdy make the trip over for their first visit to the Manx. Always front-running in their class on gravel, it would be the same here this weekend. 8th overall for the pair. David Fleming and Kieran Doherty join the Asphalt Championship for the first time here at round 2. And join us in the mixed challenge, and for now it was going well. 9th overall and leading class 3. Tim Phelps and Elwyn Manuel didn't have a good round 1, but this weekend was looking better so far. Rounding out the top 10 overall and lying 3rd in the class, just as they had in Somerset. Marion Evans and Jonathan Jackson make a cautious start. The first time in the DS3 here, and they didn't want to throw it all away on day 1. They make a cautious but good start, just outside the top 10 in 11th. Nathan O'Connor and Jessica Rogan failed to finish at round 1, so this weekend would be about getting some points on the board. They were 12th overall for now and 2nd in the class. Plenty of last-minute prep to get the car here this weekend had almost come to nothing. Only just making it to the start, but for Lewis Roper and Nick Allison, things were going okay. 13th overall for now. Andrew Irving and Matty Daniels make the trip here this weekend to sample the Manx lanes. Struggling in the conditions of day 1 as many were, but lying in 14th. Sadly, we would see our first retirement, as we lose Ian Barnard and Steve Greenhill when the drive shaft fails in stage 3. So at the end of the first day stages, the results look like this. On to day 2 and plenty more stages for the crew, starting with part of the TT circuit at Ramsey. There wouldn't be any change in the lead as Paul Bird and Alid Davies continue to hold that and very slightly increase it to just over 2 minutes. It would still be Damien Cole and Jack Morton that lie in 2nd place, not gaining any time on the leaders but not losing much either. But there were still plenty more stages to go. Simon Major and Jonathan Hawkins were still going well in 3rd, despite the lack of recent experience on the event, the drying conditions making things a lot easier for the crews, feeling like they could push properly now. That more than Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh. Way down the times on the end of day 1, and now in a battle to try and claim the podium place from Major. Callum Black and Paul Wakely were still enjoying a good run to end this loop of the event in 5th, leading the way in the class at this stage in the Citroen. No problems for Ash Slights and Alex Lee on day 2 as they remain in 6th. They were just a minute and a half away from Black ahead and of course still leading their class. Unfortunately we would lose Richard Sykes and Simon Taylor. They catch a fellow competitor in the stage and unfortunately would clip a rock while passing on the stage and tear the wheel off the Citroen.
4 right, 5 left.
So there would of course be some promotion for all behind. And it's a move into 7th overall now for Nick Carr and Joe Sturdy. They were some way off the crews ahead, but would be watching behind them. They had David Fleming and Kieran Doherty closing in on them over this morning's stages, lying just 40 seconds back and with enough stages to keep the pressure on. Tim Phelps and Elwyn Manuel continue with the pace they had all weekend so far. They move up a place with the loss of Sykes, and that of course means a step up in the class too, into 2nd behind Callum Black. Marion Evans and Jonathan Jackson move up to round out the top 10 now, and there was only 20 seconds between themselves and the escort ahead. Nathan O'Connor and Jessica Rogan continue at the same pace, despite a few mistakes along the way. But despite lying in 11th overall now, we would lose the pair in the very next stage. Things were going better now for Lewis Roper and Nick Allison on day 2. Clipping a bell on day 1 was a scare for the crew, but they got away with it. And day 2 would be all about gaining experience in the car and with each other. And for Andrew Irving and Matty Daniels, it would be 13. But sadly for the pair, they would be the latest Manx victims and will retire on the very next stage with a blown head gasket. And still rounding out the results were Ben Thomas and Phil Boyle, 14th overall and looking set to gain a few places with the retirements after service. So with 6 more stages to go here on the Isle of Man, the results look like this. On to the next few stages, and there would be a change in the lead. Paul Bird and Alid Davies get a puncture in stage 11 and unfortunately couldn't get the wheel off to change it in the stage. That means that the lead would now be in the hands of Damien Cole and Jack Morton. They may have been a little way behind in second, but it showed that anything can happen, and indeed they would now have to make sure they finish themselves.
And flat right, into left 3, flat right and flat left don't cut, right 1 over crest, 40, right 1 and left 1 over crest, right 1, 40, bump.
How's it all going for you today? A bit better than last night?
Yeah, really good. It's obviously a bit easier when the roads are dry, and it's a beautiful day again now. And we had a big push on the last 2 stages. We're sort of finally gelling together in the car, and it's making a big difference now.
There would also be a change in second place, as a push from Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh in the drying stages means they move up to take that second place with just 2 stages remaining.
And 5 right long in the tightens, into 5 left, into flat 5 left, and flat 2 right ins, 300 up mid, all the way now, all the way up. All the way up to the top, fast 3 right, and a bit more, 4 left, 5 right, into 6 left, 40, 1 left 40, flat 2 left long, into 1 right, 80, 3 left, into 5 right cuts, 60 up mid, stay mid through gates, and 5 right long, 6 left. 5 right long, 6 left. 40 at mid, 5 left tightens, into 6 left long. Into 6 right. 40. Caution 2 right and narrow 6 left long. Barrier inside. Into.
You guys are right up there. You've got a bit of battle on your hands, haven't you, for the last 2 stages?
Yeah. We've got a bit of better day today, so obviously it's drier and it's light as well, so we can see, so no, it's good.
So that means it's a drop down a place into 3rd for Simon Major and Jonathan Hawkins. No problems for the pair, but they were just in that battle with Simpson and were losing out slightly at this stage, 14 seconds behind them.
Are you enjoying it out there?
A lot better today, yeah. Last night was a bit of a nightmare. I say we lost the map light for that long stage and we dropped quite a bit of time, so it's just a case of trying to get through it and be here today. So yeah, I feel a lot better. Obviously the car is still very bumpy, so we're struggling a little bit to carry the speed, but it is what it is. We're enjoying it a bit more today.
And there would be no change at this stage in 4th, as Callum Black and Paul Wakely continue in that place. But unfortunately we will lose the pair in the very next stage with throttle sensor problems.
I'm sure you're going to tell me you're much happier than last night.
Yeah, a lot happier. It's nice to see a bit of sunshine and get the car on dry. It's an absolute weapon. I'm really enjoying it actually. It's no, really good fun.
So very happy with your times and everything.
Yeah, no, the times are good to be fair. Looking forward to the last two. Baldwin's is a cracking stage, so if I can do that in the dry, it'd be good.
So there was change coming into the final stage, but for now it would be Ash Slights and Alex Lee that lie in 5th. A good place to be, and about to inherit a place with the loss of black in the next loop. Marion Evans and Jonathan Jackson were having a great afternoon. Moving right up the results now to end this loop in 6th place. It was a great set of stages for the pair and looked set to get themselves some good points. Tim Phelps and Elwin Manuel were still going strong. And of course with the loss of black in the next stage, it could have been the class lead. But Evans' move up the result means it's still 2nd in the class for the pair. David Fleming and Kieran Doherty would still be having a good run in the Civic, to lie in 8th overall now. And there was certainly no problem with the class lead. They are the only ones left after the loss of Nathan O'Connor. Nick Carr and Joe Sturdy unfortunately drop a little time on the middle loop of stages and end stage 12th in 9th overall, just over a minute behind Fleming. Lewis Roper and Nick Allison round out the top 10 at this stage. Going well, and the pair getting used to each other on Nick's first stage rally. And it would be 11th now for Ben Thomas and Phil Boyle, climbing up the results with the loss of crews ahead to lie just outside the top 10. So with just 2 stages to go, the results look like this. On to the final stages and a look at how the results were decided. No change for Ben Thomas and Phil Boyle as they round out the top 10 at the end of the event in the Micra. It would be a finish for Lewis Roper and Nick Allison, the pair having a great weekend and looking forward to getting the car out on the gravel on the next round. Nick Carr and Joe Sturdy are unable to gain back any of the lost time, but they finish the event, which is the important thing, 8th overall and a class win for the pair. Tim Phelps and Elwin Manuel come away with a good finish here at round 2, after their non-finish at the opening round. 7th overall and 2nd in class for the pair. David Fleming and Kieran Doherty make a good visit from Ireland this weekend to take 6th place. And of course the class win this weekend in the Civic. It's a great weekend for Marion Evans and Jonathan Jackson, moving their way up the results through the weekend to take a great 5th place finish on their first mixed surface outing this year. The decision to compete on the Manx was only a few weeks before the event for Ash Slights and Alex Lee, and it certainly seemed like a good one. They finish in 4th and take the class win, and it puts them in 2nd overall in the championship. Sadly for Simon Major and Jonathan Hawkins, there was no more time to be gained in the final loop of stages, and the pair have to settle with 3rd overall. The result was of course needed after their non-finish at the opening round. Said for Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh. Not scoring on round 1 means the points were needed, and this result moves him up to 4th in the championship. But taking the win this weekend would be Damien Cole and Jack Morton. Add that to their 2nd place at round 1, and the pair rocket to the top of the championship with a 9-point lead.
Crest, 60 flat jump over crossroads, 80, flat right into long, right 1, and flat left open to the crest, 100, go on, right 2 at pillars, 40, long left 1, 80, right 1, 40, long right 4. Flat left, 150. Flat crest into left 1, 150. Right for a minus at the chevron. And flat left opens. And left 2 over bump 2 cut narrows. 80 down. Right 2, 40. Flat left over finish. Flat right over bridge, line 250. That's you.
So before we chat to our winner, here's a reminder of the final results.
So Damien, that means that you are first overall in the Mixed Surface Championship.
Yep, we've got 2 good scores now after finishing second in Somerset on the gravel round. So now we've won a tarmac round, so we're doing quite well in the mix now. I think we should be leading it.
And it's quite a new thing. How are you finding it?
I think it's a really good idea. Shows who can be the most consistent across both surfaces over the year. And it'd be nice to try and win the inaugural championship.
Some good points for the Mixed Championship?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah, we're primarily sort of doing the tarmac championship, but we thought we'd put an entry in for the mixed championship as well. Unfortunately, that didn't go so well on the Somerset. We were tired with a little micro there. But obviously, this is part of the asphalt championship, which we're concentrating on with the Metro. So yeah, we picked some points up. So that's great. We're just happy to finish, really.
I know this weekend's been quite up and down for you.
Yeah, we've had a few problems, I guess you can say, with the car. So just to finish, we're really happy with that. That was our number one priority before we came out. And the guys have done a fantastic job. They've been working really hard and in some horrible conditions last night, unfortunately. But, full credit to the guys. They've done a great job with the car to get it to the finish.
So the win here this weekend puts Damien Cole at the top of the championship standings. The next round returns to the gravel as we head to Wales and the return of Stephen Petch to try and get himself back on top of those results once again. So that brings us to the end of round 2 of the Mixed Surface Championship. And with Damien Cole's win today combined with his second place from last time, that puts him in the lead of the championship overall. However, for round 3 we are back on gravel and anything can happen. That's it for this episode of Special Stage Extra. Remember, keep up to date with us on all of our social media channels. See you next time.
Five right slots in and 6 right continued over clear.